we've actually studied what goes on with music during meditations, and there has to be a kind of music that's layered, that where no sound could distract you, no ambient sound. You can't hear anything. You hear that kind of full sound. And we noticed that when music doesn't have pauses or breaks, but it's layered, then the person will get immersed in their inner world. If we use binaural beats or we use certain things like that, I'm certain now that it's not the beat that's doing it, it's the mathematics of the beat that's doing it.
Right.
So we started noticing then, when we're getting people in certain states, that even when I said certain words, we could see 14 people go into gamma at the same time. They'd be like, oh, that was amazing. You should have seen that. And they show me the scans, the scientists show me the scans. So then the other thing I noticed is that I started picking more complex mathematical music. And I could time my voice in a way with that music. I've never told anybody this.
Cool.
I got somebody trained, and then instead of saying it when they expect me to say it, I don't. After I've done it for a period of time, I wait a little longer, and they're doing it by themselves, subconsciously, starting to move, anticipating what I'm going to say, but I don't say it then. I wait another mathematical round or so, and I say it again when I do that.
This is when you're doing the recordings?
Yeah, or when we're doing it live.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, I see the persons, they're starting to go there before I go there. It's the mathematics and the entrainment and the pace. And then just moving, they're waiting, and it doesn't come, and it comes to the next one. They're already doing it before I do it. They're developing the skill of doing it. They don't know they're doing that. So then we start doing that consistently, and then as I have longer periods of time in the way that I do it, we notice that beta appears as we experience time, more time. Like we notice time is a big deal. When you're in alpha, time seems a little bit longer. You're in theta, you got a lot of time. Everything just slows way down, right? The time out here is still the same, but your relative time is just a lot slower. So then by drawing the time intervals a little bit greater, I can entrain a slower brainwave pattern. So we've just kind of studied the technology.
So you've tweaked with it as you go and keep refining it.
Yeah. And I got a couple great musicians, and I love participating in all of that and being a part of it. Yeah.
You talk about the effects of light as it pertains to these states of consciousness. So there's one element of it would be those visuals of the fractals and kaleidoscope effects and things like that. What about the effect of all of the artificial light in our environment, such as blue light at night, and some of these things we're becoming aware of now as a disruption to our circadian rhythm?
Yeah.
Does that interfere with consciousness
exploration?
Exploration?
I mean, maybe if the person has a weakened system already, I think the environmental cue could drive the nervous system in one direction or another. I think if a person's spending 12 hours exposure-wise to these very strong fluorescent incandescence, I think it has an effect on the nervous system. But I also know that, like, if you just got up and turn your light on in your bathroom in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, you'll start making serotonin because your eye is sensitive to that band of visible light. If you have red bulbs, orange bulbs, dark yellow bulbs, that wavelength doesn't seem to stimulate as much serotonin. So I think the real issue is not all that artificial stuff, which we're always going to have, is actually being out in the right kind of light, and that's nature, right? And opening our awareness and not keep narrowing our focus, but experiencing all of it and being in the electromagnetism of complex living systems that are interfering with each other. I mean, that, to me, that's the right kind of light. And I think it has a refreshing or rebooting in nature. It's just should be something that human beings as a species has to do. I mean, I do it. I mean, I travel all over the place. I take my shoes off, I run somewhere, and I lay on the ground. Even if it's for 20 minutes, I just got to do it.
That's what I was just doing when Joseph called me. I was out in the sun with my bare feet, and I was like, oh, there'll be a little while. I was just like, I need to just be in nature, just kind of bask in this natural light. I mean, it seems to me, in terms of a lot of our degenerative disease, it's largely due to our domestication of ourselves, and
It's lifestyle.
our disconnection from natural light and from grounding and from being disconnected from our environment, sort of turning ourselves into zoo animals.
Yeah, I raised 3 kids, and that was just the deal that I had with them. You could do technology, but you got to do something in nature. Whether you surf or you kiteboard or you rock climb or whatever those, they all do something. But it was a great way for them that they could just lay their phone down for a day or for 6 hours and surf or do whatever, rock climb, and just not have a thought about their phone. Like just disconnect from technology and be out, in that open space, in that nature. And I think it's a really healthy thing for us to remember. And chronic health conditions require a lifestyle change. Now, you have 3 types of stress: physical, chemical, and emotional. Physical stress, trauma, accidents, injuries, falls. A chemical stress, viruses, bacteria, molds, funguses, blood sugar levels, hangovers, whatever. And then you have emotional stress, traffic jams, internet connections, second mortgages, single parenting, 401ks, whatever. And all those things knock the brain and body out of balance. And so the 3 types of stressors that create imbalance, and you have 3 types of balance: physical, chemical, and emotional. So physical balance would be, exercise, Pilates, yoga, chiropractic, massage, acupuncture, something that would help the physical body. And chemical balance, you eliminate certain foods, you do the right type of things, you make better choices, take vitamins, take whatever, any chemical drug that could help the body stay in balance, like hormone or whatever. And then you have emotional balance, and emotional balance is regulating and dealing with stress. And it turns out that 75 to 90% of every person that walks into a healthcare facility in the Western world walks in because of a stress-related disorder, emotional stress, psychological stress. That's 9 out of 10 people, or 8 out of 10 people on the average. Because all stress ends up as psychological stress. You break your leg, you can't go to work. Physical stress, you have to take drugs, it changes your chemistry, now you're emotionally stressed. So when we ran the clinic, we were really clear that if you got 2 out of 3 of those in order, the third one would always come around. Get them more chemically balanced, more emotionally balanced, they're going to be more physically balanced. Get them more physically balanced, more chemically balanced, they're going to be more emotionally balanced. Get them more physically balanced, more emotionally balanced, they're going to be more chemically balanced, just the way it works. And what the success rate was really great. But one of the things that people were doing is that they were thinking, well, okay, they were such a perfectionistic, self-judgmental, rigid, fearful person that was eating all the right foods, but they were super sick. Like they had food allergies, they had, acid reflux, they had constipation, they had rashes. And they're wondering what it is that's causing this, and they're eliminating more foods and nothing's working because the body has been conditioned into fear. So the body is in a constant state of vigilance, an emergency, and the body's believing that there's some danger, some predator around the corner, and it's not a time to eat when you're in that state. It's a time to run, fight, or hide. And so people get switched on to these states, and they can do all that right stuff, and box themselves further into a corner. But the real issue then, if they're eating the most organic, food combining, ketogenic, vegan, zone, no water, the right enzymes, and all of that stuff, they're going to take all that food, they're going to break it down into amino acids, and then the cells are the signal from the cell is fear, so they're going to make organic fear proteins. They're just going to wear that because that's the signal. That is the chemical that's instructing and selecting the gene in the cell. So it's an important element then to address the emotional part, because there are events in our life that cause us to feel certain emotions, and we peer through the lens of our senses through those emotional states, and in a sense we're thinking in the past. So the body, if the body is conditioned emotionally into fear, it's believing it's in the same environmental condition, whether it's real or not. And so the body then, in a constant state of fear, is not a time to metabolize, it's not a time for long-term building projects, it's not a time for growth and repair, eliminating, assimilating. It's emergency, the cell shuts down. So it's important for the person, we've seen this so many times in our research then, that they're sensitized to everything in their environment because they're mobilizing all this energy for some threat in their outer world. They don't have the energy in their inner world for growth and repair, and so they're sensitive to everything, and it's their emotions that are actually weakening and down-regulating the whole system. So then you throw in electromagnetism, which is now the fourth kind of stress, and the person's sensitized, then yeah, you will see them sensitized to things in their environment because they're more prone or more victimized to their environment. And yet, when you recalibrate, we've seen this thousands of times. People break free from fear, and all of a sudden their digestion changes, their pain levels go away, their vision improves, their acid reflux goes away, their insomnia changes. It's just the system gets freed from survival, and now the body moves back into homeostasis, moves back into balance. So I'm not saying that diet's bad. No, I eat well and I take care of myself and I exercise. It's all important, but in fact I react. But the question is, how long are you going to react? That's the real question, right? So being able to piece it all together for a bigger model, I think it helps people then to be more sensible about a bigger picture. Frequency, it's about exposure.
Right.
I mean, you take your cell phone, it's a transistor, you place it up against 78% water, and you got a wave coming through your brain, and you keep doing that over and over again. You do that for 20 years. Yeah, the frequency is going to regulate different proteins. You stand in front of an X-ray machine over and over again, and you work in an X-ray lab, and you're not taking care of yourself. The exposure over time is going to mutate DNA in cells. So but frequency, it becomes a function of exposure, right? And so, again, I would say then the person that is more coherent in their energy, more coherent in their heart and brain coherence, may have enough of a field effect to disseminate or deflect some of that. But again, that's just a speculation.